Everything that you heard me on were records that I actually produced, and that's how I would sell my songs. I would sell them with the chorus attached to it. I didn't know at the time that it was gonna be that big until I got there and realized, like, whoa, this record is a monster.
Yeah. It's your sister, Jessie Woo, here with another episode of BET Talks. We have got an icon, a global superstar, a world phenomenon, super producer, lyricist, songwriter, philanthropist. I mean, he does it all. The one, the only Akon. Y'all clap it up. Akon, how does it feel to be here? You look good.
I appreciate that, thank you.
You look healthy. You look best. How do you feel?
No, I feel amazing.
Your new single, #1 on TikTok.
Globally.
Globally, you're doing the numbers.
Yep.
How does it feel to still be the Akon?
I mean, I don't know how I feel not to be me.
Period.
But it does feel good to still be relevant after so many years, especially after after taking that hiatus from music for a while. So to come back and see the reception and see that the younger generation also accepted just as much as my original fans is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely an original fan. I will never forget, I wasn't allowed to listen to a lot of hip hop as a kid. Right. I grew up with Haitian immigrant as a mom, but there was something about Locked Up. I don't know what it was. When you dropped Locked Up, the Haitians was like, they used to use that as like a metaphor for if you're gonna get in trouble.
Right.
Locked up, How did it feel to give a song like Locked Up or So Paid with Lil Wayne or the music you've done with Jeezy? I mean, Gwen Stefani, you've worked with so many different people.
Right.
How does it feel to have music that touched different generations, sometimes in one household?
Well, interesting, when I first did the first album with the Locked Up, I didn't know that the impact would be that big. Because around the first album, Trouble, it was mainly about speaking on what I was going through, what I was dealing with. Lo and behold, not knowing that so many people around the world can relate to that.
Yeah.
That kind of was an eye-opener for me, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So the inspiration of it was actually getting locked up.
So you were locked up?
Yeah, that's how I even came up. That was the blessing.
Yeah.
That was the blessing in my life. That was actually the turning point that made me really realize my purpose.
Okay.
I needed to sit down for sure.
Okay.
Because before, I was, you could say in the music business, I was in another sector,
Okay.
right? But that sector, you couldn't really speak to people about what you was dealing with or what you was going through. That's the kind of thing where you got to keep behind. So my only way of venting at that time was to write about it.
Okay.
So when I got locked up, that habit followed me in jail, and I ended up writing about being locked up. I wrote the song Locked Up, and I would sing it in my pod, right? To the point where everybody in the pod knew the song. So every time a guard would walk past, we would all be saying, "I'm locked up, they won't let me out." So my—
What?
Yeah,
In the jail?
In jail. My cellmate—
Wait, they let y'all sing in jail?
Man, people are singing Negro spirituals all day in
Are
jail.
you serious?
All day.
I'm sorry, I'm
Absolutely,
shook.
man.
I
The
always-
talent is in jail.
Really?
Boy. You may be like, man, what is he doing?
Talent
in here?
show.
Super talent show. So as we're singing it, my cellmate was like, he was an older dude, he was in there for murder, and he was being transferred over to death row. And he was like, man, if I could turn my life around and change my decisions, I would have focused on my passion. He said, I can see music as your passion. If you put that much energy into your music as you did in the streets, there's no way you're not gonna be successful. And I thought about that. I was like, man, you know what, he's right. The next day, man, I started doing my research. I created my company, Convict Music. I actually set up the company while I was in jail.
No way.
That's why I was called Convict Music.
Let me tell you something. One thing about African men,
We gonna find
y'all
a way.
gonna figure it out. I'm
Always.
talking about ain't no jail cell keep y'all from doing what y'all gotta do
I
with the
promise
business.
you, because I saw where my life was heading. I saw where I was at. And then I saw the open door of this is the opportunity that I can use now to get out, right?
Yeah.
So that was one of the main reasons why when I came out and really when I started producing, I would always put the Convict tag at the top of every record that I produced, right? So
With
to
the
not—
locked up sound.
Right,
too.
with the jail bars, because it reminded me of where I don't ever want to be, but at the same time, as I grow, it also reminds me how far I've come. Come to find out, that became the first producer tag ever on a record. So now every producer's add those tags.
Wait,
their
you
own tag.
started that?
We was the first to do it.
No.
Yep, we sure was.
I did not know that. Yeah. And so like, what was the importance for you to, because I mean, you've done hip hop, you've done pop, but also you've never left your African heritage behind.
No, never.
Was that always important to you, and why?
Well, I mean, because believe it or not, even though I was born in the U.S., like my dad made sure we was all born in the States because he didn't want us having immigration problems coming back and forth, you know? But shortly, right, but shortly after birth, he shipped us all back to Africa.
Oh.
So when I came to America, I didn't even know I was a U.S. citizen. I just knew that we had access to come in the U.S. without no problems. It was later I found out that we were actually all born here. You know, my dad wanted to make sure that the idea of us being African was instilled since, you know, since yay high.
Although you are born here, you kind of have an immigrant story.
I think that gave me the advantage, though, believe it or not. The idea, because, you know, I think when I was in Africa, there was no genres of music. It was just good music, right? So we listened to jazz, R&B, reggae was a big influence. Country music was huge over there. So I came in with an already global mindset of thinking because music just was so demanding in Africa. You know what I mean? So when I came to America and got involved in the hip hop aspect, I didn't even like hip hop when I first came here at all. Like, to me, I thought it was trash. But then no, seriously. But then when I learned English to the point where I could understand what they were saying, that's when I gravitated to it because the struggle in the music, the lyrics in the music became something I can actually relate to. That's what made me connect to it. And in myself, I said, okay, if I ever go in a realm of that nature, I would just add more melody.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to Ghana last year and I was shocked at two things. How much reggae was so big out there.
Yeah, it's huge.
There's
reggae music and country music are the two biggest genres there.
It's huge over there, and a lot of the artists there are reggae artists.
Right.
And then I was surprised at what hip hop music they're listening to. They're not necessarily listening to what
we listen to.
Exactly. Like they're kind of like stuck in time.
Yeah, they're classics.
They're
in the classical hip hop.
Yeah. Like, what do you think Africa has to offer music?
Well, I mean, for Africa, you got to understand, Africa have been through so many conflicts for a long time. And the more classical music of hip hop was more positive. That's why you tend to gravitate to more positive music in Africa versus the newer generation is more violent. And they done been through enough violence to, you know, to kind of be attached to that. They trying to get away from it. So that's why you hear more of the positive, like classic hip hop that feel good hip hop. You listen to a lot more of that back home.
Yeah. A little bit more about just your coming into the musical scene. You worked with like the Fugees.
Yeah, that's my original camp. That's my home team right there.
Really?
Yeah. So that's how it started. It was the Fugees that got me focused in music. You know, once I became part of refugee camp, it was more like, okay, this could actually be something that I can pursue. But it still wasn't something that I pursued. It was almost like, because I was making more money in my other occupation to the point where I was like, you know what? Studio was just, I just pop up when I was bored. Then Clef be like, yo man, I'm telling you, focus on this. Because Clef was like the big bro that always made me realize that there's something here that I can gravitate to that can keep me sane, keep me out of trouble, and it's something that could possibly be a career that could feed my family.
I mean, Wyclef has been behind so many successful artists over the years. What did you learn from him that you've taken with you throughout your journey?
I think it was more so the drive for it, you know, and the persistence. Because around the time when I was moving around with them, and Clef will tell you, I had my hands in everything. I wanted to do everything. But I would watch him focus, and like all he focused on was the music.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm trying to wear so many damn hats, and then I just saw them propel to the next level in music. That's when I was like, whoa, and then being locked up, watching them do their thing while I'm in here, and I'm like, man, if I just did what he asked me to do, I'd have been probably right there with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Soul Survivor with Jeezy. That was, I mean, such a cultural reset.
Right.
And it became like this big anthem. What were the behind the scenes stories for that?
Well, that one actually, Big Meech had reached out to me personally and was like, yo, I got this new artist con. You're the only one that gonna know what to do with him. Yeah.
Now hold on, you can't just rush through that. Big Meech literally just got free the other day, I think.
Yeah.
Has he reached out to you?
Yeah, I spoke to him.
You spoke to him? Did you see his new teeth? I mean, the teeth look good. I'm just saying.
Yeah. You would notice the teeth.
The teeth was nice.
Yeah.
How's he doing? Is he good?
Yeah, he good. He's super good.
Great. So Big Meech reached out to you. That's so true because he did have Jeezy at the moment. So what was that conversation like?
Nah, it was just like, yo, listen, man, I need you to take care of this for mankind. I promise you, you're the only person that can do it the way it needs to be done. And at the time, I hadn't really known where Jeezy was at with things. You know what I'm saying? So he invited me to the studio, and then I heard Jeezy's mixtape, and I was like, yo, this kid is out of here.
Wow.
Like, and funny enough, not even 2-3 months after that, his mixtape was like the anthem of every strip club in Atlanta. In Atlanta at that time, the strip clubs really dictate what the streets was.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I knew exactly what to do with him. And I just did the Soul Survivor record, sent it to him, and he sent it back same day. And I was like, yeah, this is gonna be out of here.
You know what, too?
Yeah.
When it comes to hooks, you're like the hook king. Do you know that? What was the formula for that?
Well, the formula was a lot of people didn't know I produced everything that I was saying on. That was the formula. I'm a producer first.
Okay.
Songwriter second. So what happened, I did produce Soul Survivor, but everything that you heard me on were records that I actually produced. And that's how I would sell my songs. I would sell them with the chorus attached to it. Because it was easy. All you had to do is put the verses in.
So smart. We taking over as a girl from Dade County.
Yeah.
And I remember when that song came out, Lord have mercy, we ran that song into the ground. Like, it was a moment for Miami culture. What was it like for you?
Well, for me, it was just another record. I didn't realize how you understand. I love Miami. Trust me. Like, I went to school in Miami, so I know the vibes. Like, trust me. I was out in South Miami. I played for the Grey Ghosts. Pop Warner. Trust me, I know
so much.
I'm telling you, I've been there. But at the time, I didn't know the impact of the song until I actually performed it in Miami. Because I was all over the world at that time, doing records for everybody. So it wasn't like I was keeping track of records that I was pushing out. I didn't know at the time that it was gonna be that big until I got there and realized, like, whoa, this record is a monster.
Yeah. Is there like a collab that is major but was a surprise that you were able to pull off?
Michael Jackson.
Oh my gosh.
For sure.
How did that come about?
That one, actually, Michael Jackson reached out to me. Yeah,
No.
he reached out to me that day.
How did he sound?
I mean, he had the Michael Jackson voice.
Akon.
He had the Michael Jackson voice on the phone.
Yeah.
But then when I got to meet him, I realized that he had another voice.
Oh, so you met the other voice, Michael Jackson?
I met the Michael Jackson voice.
Oh, period.
Yeah.
So you're always touring?
Yeah.
Whether you're doing it formally or just you're always on the road.
Yeah,
so you're ready to just hit the road again.
I've never got off the road.
Okay.
So it's like, that's the beauty of it though, because the catalog kind of lasted so long to the point where the fans kept me alive so well to where my album became a generational album. So you got the mom who raised a daughter through the music. You know what I mean? And then the daughter now have a little baby who's a toddler that she's now presenting the music too. So at the tours, you will see 3 generations I was like, wow, this is amazing. So that just shows how good music can last a test of time.
Also, as you were talking about that too, I thought TikTok, like,
right.
Do you see how sometimes like your songs will just like go viral on TikTok? What is one Akon song that surprised you?
Bonanza. Bonanza was, because that was my first single ever.
Right.
After the Sylvia signing, but my first, after, like, a lot of people don't know that Bonanza was released before Locked Up.
Oh, wow.
Bonanza was the official single before Locked Up. Locked Up just happened to be the record that blew up. It's funny that Bonanza flopped, but then 20 years later, it became the biggest thing on TikTok.
Yeah, it's TikToking now.
Yeah.
So, Beautiful Day, which is the new single, and it reimagines a viral hook by a 10-year-old Jamaican student, Rashawn Edwards, whose touching school performance captured everybody. I mean, when you saw that, what made you say, I want to use that?
Well, a lot of people don't know that was one of my earlier demos. Like, back in 2012, I had a leak online about 150 songs that I wrote. There were choruses on them, and they were just all over the internet. So a lot of rappers and people would just grab them, but for the most part, the song just circulated. All them songs circulated. I never knew that song circulated to be that popular, but it wasn't until he grabbed it and actually did it.
Wow.
And funny enough, you fast forward another 10, 12 years later, I'm sitting with JR, one of the producers for the song, and he was like, as soon as I walked, he said, man, I heard this record, man, it was on TikTok. It's crazy, it sounds like something you would do. You gotta do it. We gotta redo this record. And he played it for me. He had no idea. I had no idea until he played it for me. I was like, oh, wow, you know what? And that was my sign, because that was around the time too that the reason why I got back into the music was because I wanted to be able to populate the industry with positive music again.
Well, Beautiful Day, it's been a great response. What is the message that you want everybody to take away from Beautiful Day?
Well, one of the main messages that I want people to really understand that regardless of what you're dealing with in your life or how hard you may think things are, there's somebody out there going through worse. And that's just a fact, right? So the idea is just like, appreciate everything that's in front of you. Appreciate it, because you don't never really know why it's actually there. You know, oftentimes the things that you think are bad for you are oftentimes good for you. It's no different from when I got locked up. Most people would have been like, man, getting locked up is the worst thing that could have happened.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, it was the best thing that happened, because God had his process for me already. And this is certain things that I had to personally go through to become who I am today. You know, even the idea that I'm as grounded and as humble as I still am comes from the idea of me being raised in Africa. Every day became a beautiful day to me, because the average things that everyone took for granted for was the things that I actually yearned for, like basic clean water and electricity, transportation, the basic stuff, education. Where people here get it for free, we had to pay for it and couldn't afford it. Where people can just turn the faucet water and get clean filtered water, I was drinking water from the lake. And it was, you understand? So it's a different level of
grateful for things that we take for granted.
Right. So just know that every day you wake up, it's always gonna be a beautiful day. You just gotta believe that.
Well, Akon, you've been a superstar for 20 years. If there was one song in your catalog that could express how you feel about having a career that spanned over 2 decades.
Wow. Sheesh. It'll probably be Freedom.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love
Freedom,
it.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much.
It's
been such an honor, y'all. Akon,
Akon.
the legend, the icon.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And it's not over. Just make sure that you guys realize that the album Not Guilty is coming in February.
Oh, yes. Coming in February. When's the tour? I saw that you had tour dates as well.
Yes,
you wanna
all
share
the
that with
tours.
us?
Yep, you log on to Acon.com, you get all the dates for all the tours. But just know the body of work and that experience that everybody's yearning for is coming in February with the new album.
Well, we're excited. We are excited to hear it, y'all. Once again, Akon, the legend, the icon.